Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
When you bundle your renters and auto insurance with Progressive, you could save money, but it doesn't cover any terrible memories living rent-free in your head.
Remember when one of your best players got injured, but not like on a play or anything? He got injured celebrating a play, and it's not like it was a game-winning play or in the playoffs, and he was out the rest of the season because he was injured while celebrating? Yeah.
Sorry, we can't save you from that memory, but we could save you money bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Renters insurance and bundle discount not available in all states or situations. When you bundle your renters and auto insurance with Progressive, you could save money, but it doesn't cover any terrible memories living rent-free in your head.
Hey, just wanted to remind you of that time your kicker missed the extra point and lost the game. Even though he'd literally never missed an extra point, he chose this playoff game to miss. Yeah, I just noticed you hadn't thought about that in a bit. Wouldn't want you to miss, thinking about it.
Sorry, we can't save you from that memory, but we could save you money bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Renters insurance and bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Hey, a quick note before today's show. We were having technical difficulties before the show. Jess has a new setup. We were going through trying to get everything figured out, and we did, sort of. Long story short, only got about the last 10 minutes of Jess's track on the show this week. Sorry, Jess. I didn't want to kill the whole show because we did have some good conversations, and I discovered it right at the end, and I didn't want to derail the train. So that's why if the conversation sounds weird or disjointed in a couple spots, you know why. We're talking to a third person who you cannot hear, but we could. Apologize for that again. Like I said, technical difficulties. Didn't want to kill the whole show. So if you're a fan of Jess, she'll be back in full force, all of her whole track next week. And now, on to the show. Welcome to Gen Exhausted. I'm Chris.
I'm Rich.
We're back. So are Trump's passports. As of this morning. Why did he take his passports? Like he's going to run? He used to be the president. Like, he's got a pretty high profile. Like, I think they know if he was trying to flee. Also a thing. Yeah.
No, you have to.
Well, yeah,
you have to
customs
file a fight plan with the FAA, and you have to say how many people are going to be on your plane, even if it's a private jet. I think until you at least get into international waters, and then if you come back and you didn't do any of that, you enter U.S. airspace. I'm pretty sure it's like being on the ocean. Like, they can bust you. Be like, okay, now you're back on U.S. soil, quote unquote.
Well, and also private or public, customs is still a thing, right? Like, you still gotta
I don't think so. I don't think they search you on a private plane unless you.
No, but I mean, you're still gonna be like, I'm a citizen. Like, you still gotta like a passport and all that, right? Like, you still gotta be like, I'm a citizen of this country coming into this country.
Well, I mean, we don't. I'm
saying driving to Canada, we need our fucking passport.
Well, now, yeah. Well, he should be able to legally fly as long as he's not court ordered. And this is anybody. This is anybody who's under investigation, whatever. Unless you're court ordered, you should be able to travel freely. We don't have soft or hard borders between states like in Europe has between countries. Like, to go between Northern Ireland and Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, those are two different countries. But it's a soft border. A hard border is you get searched, you get your shit gone through. Soft border is you flash a piece of paper, like it used to be would go from Detroit to Canada. Mm-hmm. Flash a piece of paper, answer a few questions, have a nice fucking time. That type thing. So if they're taking his passport, they're not worried about him flying in the continental United States. They're worried about him leaving the country.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's got a pretty high profile.
Well, I mean, then put a bond on him. If you're going to try,
for taking some boxes, why are we confiscating passports?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, they haven't charged him, so they can't put a bond on him. But I mean, I don't know. Did I hear today that Giuliani is the person that is the main person they're investigating? Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wait, okay. So explain it to me why Trump is involved if the subject of the investigation is Giuliani, because anything that happened between him and Giuliani in the attorney-client like setting is privileged information.
Yeah.
And the FBI, just because they're part of the alphabet crew, they don't get to fucking come in and just fucking start snatching shit and violating the Constitution, because we really, really don't want you to run for president again.
Well, and the other thing is too, like, he had those boxes a year and a half ago when he left, and they know he had those boxes a year and a half ago when he left. All of a sudden now,
well, I mean, it's kind of like loss prevention. It lets you leave the store. Now you've committed a crime. Now they have something to beat you up and take you, hold you till the police show up. If they walk up to you and before you walk out of the store, it's not a crime. They could prevent the whole thing by going, why don't you put that back? Save everybody the hassle. Then you can just leave.
Like, are the January 6th hearings going poorly? So, let's try this one. It just
know the answer. That's a bad faith question. You know the answer to that question. Anything that can stick to the fucking wall.
Well, it just seems like
pin on
at this point you got to call him Teflon Don, right? Like, this is what, the 5th or 6th thing they're tossing at him?
I don't know. Shit sticks. No one cares. There's a difference between walking away fucking scot-free smelling like roses and walking through getting thrown shit on you and smelling and looking like you had shit thrown on you and just people being like, we don't care. It's like you said. I can shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Yeah. I kind of believe it now.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying the whole country would be on his side. He wouldn't have the numbers he has now. But he would definitely have a base that would never fucking turn their back on him.
I just think he's been involved in the corporate business world so long. He's just really good at just like he's really good at Belichicking it, just walking up to the line, dancing right in front of it. Like I think he proved it with the quote unquote perfect phone call, right? I mean, he's really good at going up to the line, doing like getting really close to all the things that he shouldn't be doing or saying, and then because nothing can stick to him, right? I mean, obviously the Russia investigation, that wasn't... Well, no, they were trying to pin that on him, like he had somehow manipulated that. But it's, there's a system and he's working it, right? Like he knows how to play the game. And I think that's what irks a lot of people too, because he's like... He's not doing the outright wrong shit. He's doing everything but, and I think that's what chaps a lot of people's asses. Is he's getting away with all of the shit he quote unquote shouldn't be getting away with.
Whose asses are chapped by that? Because if they hate the man, and they've hated the man since he's announced he was running for president, that's not going to change.
No, I'm saying his haters in general.
But that's like, it's like going to the Catholic Church being like, we found actual physical proof Jesus existed. They're like, we don't give a fuck. We've been getting paid off that bullshit for thousands of years. Real, fake, it doesn't matter. These checks is real. That's what the fuck is real, motherfucker.
He's real to these people that show up every Sunday.
Yeah, we don't need your proof. That's why I don't know. It just feels like that to me, to them. Like they're just like, well, we gonna hate on Trump all day. That's just what we do. We wake up, we hate Trump. We eat breakfast, we hate the motherfucker. That's just what they do. So, all right, good for you. My concern is, or my question is, who is all this fucking dog and pony show for? I don't give a fuck about his supporters, his base, and I don't give a fuck about his haters, the base. This has got to be somebody along the line who is orchestrating this thinks that this is causing him to look bad in the eyes of undecided, swing, or independent voters. So here's my question to both of you guys. Do you think this actually makes him look bad in the eyes of those people I just said?
I think it does the opposite. I think this just... I think I'm using somebody else's term. Maybe Bill Maher said he's it's further making him president martyr. I've read a lot of things in the last week or so. This has actually swung a lot. It's done the opposite of what for the crowd you were talking about. It's made people actually come out in favor of him. I think I said it last show. Mike Pence, there's been no love lost since those two left office. Mike Pence was even up, on national TV defending him, going, this is some bullshit. Like, I think it's like telling you guys in the pre-show chat. I heard the other day, his approval ratings jumped 10%. And tell us why, right? Hasn't that been the big thing the last few days too? Like, unseal the warrants. Tell us why. Like, because it's again, I have a feel, there is no feeling at this point. It's been proven like 9 times in the course that we've been doing this show. Switch the sides, right? The other side would be screaming the same shit. Like,
well, this has already happened to the other side. Look at the 60s. Look at COINTELPRO.
Oh, yeah.
That was CIA, FBI fucking joint spying on civil rights leaders to the point where they knew all about Martin Luther King being a hoe, and they were like, oh, we could expose this motherfucker. But then Malcolm X, they were like, he's a fucking choir boy. This motherfucker don't do shit.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, you got a real one there, huh? Yeah, a little bit different than the Reverend, huh? Yeah, I got you. But no, and then on top of that, the 90s, after the 93, the first attack on the Twin Towers, they really ramped up looking for homegrown terrorism with, people of the Muslim faith. And then we all know what the fuck they're doing now post January 6th. Apparently the biggest threat to America is straight white men over the age of 40.
Oh, no.
So I guess
could have been us.
A bunch of dad bod motherfuckers with enlarged prostates, you know what I'm saying, are the biggest threat to this country, according to the FBI.
I mean, honestly,
and by the way, in all these circumstances that I'm giving you examples of, the FBI have been caught red-handed, planting evidence, using entrapment, and using illegal techniques to get to their targets. The FBI has always been a political organization. It's always been a tool to use against your political opponents. If you don't think so, pick up a fucking history book, and after you get reading it, slap yourself in the face with it 4 times for not reading it before now.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, dude, I'm seeing people argue the FBI has no history of being politicized. I'm like, do you know who J. Edgar Hoover is, you
right?
stupid
Yeah.
fucking cocksuckers? No? Okay, thank you. Then shut the fuck up, adults are talking. That's what I want to say, but I can't because it's online.
Right.
It's screaming into the void, ultimately.
What's when you go to Facebook jail? Someone's uncomfortable.
Well, I don't even not argue on Facebook. That's for cat memes and fucking,
right, yeah.
And closed groups where I see shit where I'm not supposed to.
Well, I mean, just to back it up an administration, right? Trump as the FBI raids Obama's the scream, especially from the 2022 crowd, the authoritarian right, fascist, this, that, blah, blah. Like, it's just funny how people lose sight of it. It's well-worn carpet. When you feel your team's on the right side of things, you don't give a fuck.
And this is another subject where we find we separate the wheat from the chaff here. We're going to find out who's real and who's full of shit. And there's a lot of full of shit motherfuckers walking around talking about how real they are. Because I've never been on some Trump shit. The only time I've ever even fucking jokingly thrown support behind him is like, if he actually runs in 2024, I might vote for him. Just because I want to see it all burn before I die. Just like I want to warm my hands on the ashes of the American dream and be like, was never going to happen here, right? We're impervious to it, right? Everybody enjoying this? Get the marshmallows out. Let's make s'mores. But that was only a joke, really. I'm not on some Trump shit. But fuck the FBI if they're fucking targeting him because of political bullshit behind the scenes. And I'm sorry, but yeah, prove it. Well, I can't. But I got a lot of fucking historical precedents. The FBI has been used like this since its inception. And pretty much can make a valid argument that it's always been a tool of somebody's political machinations. So, was this the Georgia election, the 2020? Okay, because to be fair, I was in and out of a vehicle and I heard him talking about it on the news talk today. And they had mentioned I heard something about Georgia and Arizona and Giuliani being investigated for work he did on behalf of Trump to basically overturn or get a recount or something along those lines. Basically, what I took from it, and this is a very layman's way of looking at it, I'm sure it's in crude, but I mean, it's just how I do. You stuck your finger in the fucking stew before it was ready. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're looking at Giuliani, they're like, hey, you were an agent sent by Trump to come and look into this shit. Fuck you. And if there's one thing I know about the federal government, especially the United States federal government, doesn't matter if they're right, wrong, if they did something or if they didn't. They don't like being fucking questioned, and they don't like being put under suspicion of anything. So it seems to me, it's like, do you have something like that's going to put him in prison? It's going to warrant how much is this investigation and all this shit costing, by the way?
Hey, there's an echo in here from last week. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is like things to watch out for.
You want to know my theory? This is Earl's here in spirit. I think he's got the fucking the Epstein list.
Who, Giuliani?
Trump. I think he's got shit on everybody who was on that plane.
Yeah, I mean, if Giuliani had it, Trump has it. So yeah, okay. What were you saying, Jess?
I'm not sure if you were on the show yet, but I've just gone over. I've said we'll never know who's on that list because of how much power is on that list, in all walks of politics, like, you know, from people like George Soros to the fucking Koch brothers. That's what I'm saying. Like red and blue. Did you hear the toxicology report? That's what I think of Anne Heche.
I saw the video of her doing 60 on a fucking residential or somebody. Honestly, I couldn't even see the fucking who the driver was of the car. It was like a fucking Ring video, but it was a car doing 60 on it.
She had like alcohol,
25.
coke, fentanyl. Like she was all like.
Well, okay, first of all, if you're taking. So I saw the video of like, yeah, she was on the stretcher.
Okay, I think we're. Why are we taking out Anne Heche? Let's start there. Wouldn't you go after the writers, not the actress? Huh. I mean, that's something to think about.
I mean, I will say this. Having watched these are fictionalized accounts of real events, but the miniseries about the making of the Godfather movies and
The Offer, wasn't that called?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the one about the Showtime Lakers in the late 70s. And seeing how much went on behind the scenes, like with criminals and organized crime and police and shit like that. And it's like, I don't know, man. Now, like, it's not that fucking far-fetched, man. Like, any place there's money to be made, criminals are found. It's kind of like if you have spilled food on the floor, you're going to have ants if you leave it there long enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean, I'm not saying there's like some grand conspiracy, but she was fucking working on a movie talking about I want to expose Epstein and the people that were on it. Those are people with money, man. Those people are like,
hey, man,
20 grand, make the bitch disappear.
I am the show's contrarian, and you heard me not say anything and go, huh.
I mean, I will say this, though. The whole fentanyl and all that shit if you are under 60 and that like, ooh, does anything for you, grow the fuck up. It's in every fucking almost illicit street drug you can imagine at this point. Okay? You are playing Russian roulette and you take that fucking chance. And it makes no sense to cut coke with fentanyl because one is a stimulant and the other is an opiate. Why do I want to have a heart attack? I don't. I'm doing cocaine to drink all night, not fucking do a John Belushi.
Now, the other thing that I will say to counteract, you know, she got taken out is there's a podcast she record. She had a podcast, and the last podcast she released 2 days before she died, can't find it on the internet anymore. It's her and her partner getting hammered. Like some vodka sponsored that show or whatever, and they were just on the show just drunk as hell, and now that's gone from the internet.
Well, I mean, that's...
And 2 days later, she's...
I mean, do I really need to tell you how much shit got scrubbed for the internet from Jackass when Ryan Dunn killed himself fucking doing 120 in a fucking sports car, drunk as shit? I mean, half of the first fucking decade of Jackass was them drunk on fucking film on MTV, drunk or on some form of drugs. And once he died, it's like, yeah, that's kind of in bad taste. It's like, no, it was always in bad taste. That's what made it funny.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't heard any conspiracy theory that like she was going to expose anything or anything like that. The one, I don't even know if it's a conspiracy theory. The thing I heard is that I'm assuming this might be the guy you're talking about. That you said there was like a shop owner or something that saw her like an hour before. Did he take pictures with her? Because there's pictures that I'm seeing that are alleged to be about half hour, maybe 45 minutes before her accident, and like, I don't know, she looks like a broad in her early 50s and maybe was doing some day drinking. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, she wasn't put together, like she wasn't red carpet premiere looking. She looked like
She's had substance issues in the past, too.
yeah, dude. She's also like come out like remember when she came out and she's had like 4 or 5 different personalities.
Oh,
and
no.
all that shit.
Yeah, no. But she was the fodder for late night TV for like a week, and then 9/11 happened, and that was what 9/11 was a good. 9/11 was good for 2 people, her and Gary Condit.
Mm-hmm. But so
in the Saudi Arabian government. But that's another topic.
So I mean, is that really like? Is it a conspiracy theory to be like rich people will kill to stay rich? I mean, it's like it depends. Like if you tell me that there's some rich oil baron in Saudi Arabia that's willing to fucking look the other way while they saw off Jamal Khashoggi's head, I'm not even going to doubt you because it happened. But if you tell me like,
And Biden fist bumped him?
But if you're telling me like Robert Kraft is like taking people out back and executing them like Pablo Escobar and shit because, they said something about fucking Heinz ketchup or some shit that he didn't like, you're gonna have to come with some proof. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't need people to find out I was on the jet to Pedophile Island 9 times. Definitely, probably.
Oh no, the motive.
Make a couple phone calls.
The motive makes absolute sense. Absolutely. The question is that would anybody actually fucking pay the price? And I mean, how the fuck? We've said this a million times. How the fuck is this bitch tried, sentenced, sitting in jail, doing her time, and we don't have a list of any of the clients? You went to jail for supplying underage children to pedophiles, and none of your fucking clients have been prosecuted.
Because I'm sure the message has been sent. Hey, remember how your boss
died,
killed himself in jail? I'm using air quotes, everybody.
But no, yeah, it I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, a lot of power. I'm just saying, again, a lot of power on that list is what I'm getting at. Ex-presidents, literally captains of industry, like.
Oh, dude, there's so much fucking scuttlebutt behind, like, and through the grapevine shit about, like, Gates.
Yeah, Gates been on there a bunch.
Yeah, and he, like, started hanging out with Epstein, whatever the fuck.
And we know Billy Boo's on that jet.
Like, a lot after the initial time.
Mm-hmm.
And this was after he had pled and made the plea deal in 2009. So it was public knowledge this motherfucker was a kitty diddler. He's a short-eyed cocksucker. So his wife was like, why are you hanging out with a admitted pedophile?
Big Boo's Island kicks ass. He's got a ping pong table. He's got a pool table.
Yeah, because I'm Bill Gates.
Yeah.
He's got something that I don't.
And they got a pool table too.
House.
Yeah.
No, he has a snooker table. We can't get that. We're in the Pacific Northwest. They don't know what snooker is. No, it's not. Dude, Kevin Smith tells a story. Prince asked his assistant at 3 a.m. on January 3rd in Minnesota, I need a camel. Actually, I need a camel. And his assistant was like,
like cigarettes? Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's not physically or psychologically possible. And Prince, being Prince, went, why? And is he being an asshole? Nope. No one he's Prince. He's rich and he's got money. No one told him
Prince,
no.
I'd be like, we'll start at the zoo.
Prince has lived in Prince land.
Like,
Epstein lived in Epstein land.
Call the zookeeper. Fucking wake him up. I'm Prince. There's a camel in Minneapolis. He's sleeping.
Somewhere. Fire up the fucking...
Yeah. We'll leave an IOU. Hey, I brought his camel. I'm bringing him back. Love Prince. You could probably get away with it.
What was the shit that they fucking... The plane that they decommissioned that would, like, take you from here to Europe in a couple hours?
The Concorde.
Yeah. Put a camel on the Concorde. If you hadn't wrote Raspberry Beret, I wouldn't be doing this, man. I'm just saying.
Start at the zoo. There's a zoo in every major city. A camel ain't that exotic.
Well, anyways, all right. So I forgot. How did we get off on fucking female Paul Walker?
Why I think Trump got raided.
Okay, all right.
I think he's threatening to go public with the list.
I've said this before, and I maintain this. And this is, I mean, I'm sure there's a list. It exists, in probably multiple lists that exist, and I'm sure there's a whole lot of salacious names on there that ooh and ah and get all the fucking galaxy brain people all excited and shit. But I kind of and I've said this for a long time, and I agree with Chris. I think the real thing is the names we go, who the fuck is that? And then we got to do a Google search, and we're like, oh, that motherfucker runs like one of the 4 corporations who run the world. Yeah. Oh, that's why I don't know who that motherfucker is, because real power moves in silence. Killers move in silence. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the bag men who do the time. Oh, what is it? Eddie Griffin said, real gangsters don't go platinum. John Gotti never accepted an American Music Award.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you a rap, there's no such thing as a gangster rapper, because if you a rapper, you talk too goddamn much.
Yeah.
Me and Pookie had to kill the motherfucker, shot him with my 9, draw him in the chalk line. You name dropping motherfucker, now we gotta kill you.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Stop using real names. Yeah.
Ain't you heard of a nickname, bitch? But yeah, I think that's. I honestly think it'd be kind of anticlimactic once we got over the fucking like Bob Saget was on that list, and it's like, dude, I mean, if anybody is not, I'm not shocked by being on that list. It would have been Bob Saget. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and the only thing that shocked me is if it was like, no, he just did coke and just sat in the corner. That's just all he did. Like,
right?
Really? Like, this is basically Caligula here. Like, you could literally murder someone. You could bury someone up to the ground and then have a machine come and chop their head off, like in Caligula. And all he did was coke? Yeah. Bob Saget was a wholesome guy. Who would have known by all the anal rape jokes? And at times he joked about molesting the Olsen twins.
Well, that's how you know he wasn't like that, right? Because you don't fly. That's shit you play close to the vest.
I was going to say, all this talk about child molestation in our culture over the last, that's really been ramped up over the last 5 years or so. The best point about child molestation that has been brought up, it was brought up by a fucking pervert, Louis C.K. He's like, and he did it on Saturday Night Live, and he got laughs where people didn't want to laugh, and that's the best laugh when you rape someone's laugh. Give me that laugh, bitch. I know you don't want to give it up. Give it to me. But he did. He was like, child molestation must be good because people go to prison and go through hell and get out and do it again. I'm not saying I want to do it, but it must be really good. That's terrible. And the crowd was like, oh, and then laughed, and then, oh, and I'm just like.
That's kind of the emotions I'm going through over here, too. But yeah, he's right.
I mean, it's a valid point.
Yeah. If you live through prison, because you probably get your ass beaten and raped every day because they know you're a chomo, yeah, you get out and do it again.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. How many, like straight up chomos, child molesters, real fucking child molesters. Not some guy who got caught taking a piss outside, or some 18-year-old fucked a 17-year-old girlfriend in high school and her parents were pissed. How many of them never reoffend?
Oh, I was just about to say, isn't recidivism on that terrible?
It makes the success rate for recovering alcoholics and drug addicts look astounding, and that's in the single digits, bro.
Yeah.
That's single digits. So I mean, and that's AA's own stats. 5% of people who come into our program will die sober.
Damn.
And I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I'd be bragging about that.
So out of every 100 people that come into the program,
95 of them will die due to drinking or consequences of drinking. Yes, that's what they say.
Well, I wonder what the ratio is of those 95 people. Like, the damage is done. You quit drinking too late.
Oh, I'm sure it's amped up for dramatic effect.
Yeah,
but still, ironically, I think because booze is legal and so easy to get, I know a lot more people that have had trouble kicking booze. I mean, people who've kicked heroin, meth, crack, and they can't quit drinking. When they relapse, they'll relapse with I'll drink. It's not as bad as shooting heroin or smoking fucking meth or whatever the fuck, right? And then they just relapse and relapse and relapse, and it's just I think it's because it's legal, and it's also, it gets its hooks in you, and I don't know, man. Something about drinking that a certain type of human, when the booze hits them, you can kiss logic and reason goodbye. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, if you've seen it, you know I'm not exaggerating. And if you don't know anyone like that, you're like that. You're the person.
They turn into an animal.
Yes. And believe me, like even me, who had a long and historic of drinking career, first ballot Hall of Famer, even though I'm retired. God damn it, I'm going in first. I'm like that first fucking. I'm like the Ty Cobb of drinking. Out of my friends, put me in first. But I had to fucking like pump the brakes. Like, no more hard liquor. It's get a little too crazy with cheese whiz when hard liquor.
Oh yeah,
out,
no,
that's when fights and crying and shit starts. You know, the charges get pressed at the end of the night.
Oh, I just at this point I keep it in a can. It's yeah, I'm the same way.
My ex-wife probably at least added 10 years to my life by giving me an ultimatum and saying, if you continue to drink hard liquor like you do, I can't be with you.
I just know I turn into a fucking asshole on hard liquor. Like, well, it depends. Like Jaeger's been outlawed for me for like at least a decade. Like that
Wait, hold on. Feel free to join in, Jess. Didn't you just say you drank some Jaeger this last week?
No.
You said he had a Jaeger dispenser, your boy.
No, but he has Screwball peanut butter whiskey in it.
That's worse.
I know. I was cursing him the next morning, like, why? You should not have. Still, if you had it, it's delicious. Have you ever put it in coffee? Don't. Dude, that's how I had to put the brakes on that shit. The first month of the pandemic, I was going through a fifth of that a week, and I was starting in the morning. I was like, oh, this has down a bad road. We have to stop. But yeah, no, I cannot Jägermeister, dude. I'll start wanting to fight people.
See, the only time I ever really did Jaegers and Jaeger bombs, and it was literally the crew I was with, like, yo, try the Coke guy. I already did. He ain't answering. Okay, try the backup guy. I tried him and tried to back up to the backup. Damn, do we know anybody? No. Fuck, I don't want the party to end. All right, man, set up them Jaeger bombs. Get the fucking... And it's the bomb part more than the Jaeger that we want. We want the fucking...
In my heyday, I just to myself, during a band practice, so 2 hours, pint of Jaeger. Just chugging it from the bottle, ice cold, just trying to get to rehab. No, but the incident that retired Jaeger for me, there's this bar... It's irrelevant. It was in Mount Clemens, and this owner had been trying to... He'd always come to see us. Well, no. He'd come to see us at the Hayloft and party with us, and he owned just a small bar in Mount Clemens. Mm-hmm. It's called Crazy Eights. I don't know if you heard of it back in the day. Yeah. But he was always trying to get us to play there, and he finally did, and he just fed us fucking Jaeger bombs. It was Jaeger bombs and redheaded sluts. I
don't even know what a redhead slut is.
It is Jaeger, peach schnapps, and
my asshole just puckered on those two, dude.
Oh yeah, Jaeger. And we did this with Jaeger bombs too. We'd be the band like, no, just put in a rocks glass. We'd make drinks out of things. They're supposed to be shots. We'd turn them into drinks.
Three wise men used to.
Just put it this way. At the end of this, the band broke up for like 8 hours. The singer quit the band and, overnight. Me and the guy who've known each other since we were like 12, our girlfriends are trying to separate us in the parking lot because we were going to fight each other. Like it was, yes. It's just the next day we're all college. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So, and after that we're like, no more Jägermeister.
You have to know your limitations.
Yeah, I remember I had to work the next day. I remember sitting in telling someone, "Yeah, I got to go run an errand," and just sitting in a McDonald's parking lot for like an hour with like just a fucking bucket of sweet tea. Like I want to die.
Okay, this is a story I think I've told maybe 4 times. So of course it's perfect to tell it to the whole world, even though the whole world doesn't listen to us. But the internet's forever, baby. So here we go. All right, so. This was during my lost decade, during the really tumultuous 2 years of the lost decade. 2 years where I drank every day. I had actually become dependent on, like, physically dependent on alcohol.
Oh, you were leaving Las Vegas?
Yeah, I didn't know it. I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was really hungover. You know, I had the shakes, the sweats, you know, basically the onset of the DTs and shit. And through just pure desperation one day, I had to go to work. And I went to work, and I was working in food service. And I was inside, and this is why I did this, because if I was driving, I never fucking did it. I was like, all right, I got to run to the store. I got to get a pack of cigarettes. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And I ran to the corner party store, and I grabbed like 3 airline bottles of just just, you know, whatever vodka they had sitting on the
99 bananas.
Yeah, whatever. You know, like it wasn't Mohawk or 5-star, but it wasn't good. It wasn't Grey Goose. Let's put it that way.
Give me the rocket fuel, please.
So yeah, I grabbed like 3 of those and like get back in the car and just bam, 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 and then just like sat for like 10 minutes, and it was amazing. I felt better. Sweat stopped, shakes stopped. I went in and finished my fucking shift, and I was like, okay, I have a problem. Like this is not good. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't live like this. This is not a viable lifestyle option forever.
Like, this is not sustainable.
Yes, no, not at all. So yeah, needless to say, yeah, alcohol. No, I'm good, man. Like I swear to God, I listen to people talk about the hangovers they get over 40, and I'm just like, that's so cute. I wish I got hangovers like that.
I was out past midnight last Thursday drinking. I haven't done that in ages. All I wanted to do on Friday was just go back to bed. That's all I wanted to do. I'm like, I drink light beer.
The only thing I can say is that I walked around so hungover for 2 years. Whenever I wasn't drinking, I was in those 2 states, on my way to getting drunker or sobering up, getting more hungover, and those are the areas I lived in, the peaks and valleys. Yeah.
Oof. Oh,
the fucking. You don't realize how hungover you are until you quit drinking like that, and then you start feeling aches and pains that you didn't feel for years because you were so hungover. Your body was like, no. That pain, that ache and pain, that ain't shit. Here's the hangover. And it's like, Jesus Christ. And when you talk to a doctor, he's like, well, you know, what happened? Well, I was shaking and sweating and blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, your blood pressure probably spiked. Your heart rate was probably through the roof, and you're probably risking a heart attack or a stroke. Oh. So this is like mega bad hangover. He's like, yes, if at the end of your hangover is death, I would assume it's a pretty bad hangover. I was like, well, thank you, Doc.
I call it the ultimate hangover.
But yeah, that's when I was like, okay, so there's a point where it's just, these aren't really hangovers anymore. You're just fucking around and flirting and like kind of like poking the Grim Reaper like, what's up, bitch? You ain't got the balls. You know, it's like, no, dude, stop drinking before you kill yourself.
In like a Mexican standoff with your liver.
Oh man, I've seen people have alcohol poisoning, and I swear to God, it's scary as fuck when people's bodies start shutting down from alcohol poisoning in front of you, because it is like watching a machine that has a process of shutting down. Like you can see certain things start turning off in a person, and it's kind of terrifying. It's kind of like watching someone die. It's something that you never forget once you see it. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, all right. So enough about drinking and dying, because fucking we're not the drinking and dying podcast. So yeah, no, well, we're 8 years on the network. I'd say the first 7 I was trying really hard, so it wasn't for lack of enthusiasm on my part. All right, so do you guys have any more thoughts on the whole Trump situation with the FBI? I mean, like any of the new information you've heard since we talked last week, or anything?
I think we hit on the recent developments.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and that's like, to me, this is the bow I want to put on this. If this turns into some like Steele dossier, let's drag this out bullshit. I'm not. Everybody's free American and over 21. Do what the fuck you want to do. I'm not gonna tell you what you can and can't talk about. But like, I don't want to sit and talk about this shit every fucking week for an hour for 2 years like we did back in the day with the Trump shit. So,
right?
If they drag this shit out, I'm literally gonna be like, start the stopwatch, give us the new information, and we're done.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about to you guys or to like people on the show. I'm talking about like to the news media, because I know they can drag out bullshit for years now.
The man apparently still
years.
grabs clicks and ratings because he's been gone 1.5 years and he's still in the fucking headlines every goddamn day.
You know, that's really the question when I think about Trump and I think about the media, the question I come up with and keep coming back to is how cynical am I at this point? And as much as I'd like to say I'm so cynical that I've given up complete hope in the human race, it's just not true. I still do hold out a glimmer of fucking hope. But when it comes to the media, no, I have no hope for the media. They absolutely went back to that well. They hate that man because that man attacked them and called them out for the bullshit that they are. The media, there is hardly any journalism in our media anymore.
Nope.
Our media is talking heads and hearing what you want to be fucking told. That's all it is.
It's all editorials.
Exactly. It's an op-ed page put to pictures. And Trump called them on that shit to the point where they've adopted even remember the birth and the genealogy, as if that's the right word, of the phrase fake news. Because when Trump first started saying it, they said it was a pejorative term, it's a slur, it's this, it's that, it's liable, it's slanderous. Now they use it all the time. The news media who attacked Trump for applying that term to them, they now use it to describe shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how these people have no moral compass. Do not listen. These are not like moral guides for our lives. These are morons who are paid because they can read a teleprompter and their hair looks good while they do it. Chris and I went to school with these people. We're not losing cures for cancer if we kill every talking head in the news media. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
No, we were taught actually that it's the person writing the words and the person reading the words, two separate people. They are literally they are news readers.
Exactly. And they saw how much clicks and views and eyes on their op-eds and on their bullshit that Trump got them. And just like with shock jocks back in the 80s and 90s, when they would ask people who listened to their show, who were fans, like Howard Stern fans would say, I want to see what he says next. And the people who hated Howard Stern would listen even more and longer than the fans. And the answer they give, why do you listen to him so much even though you hate him? I want to see what he says next. That's what the media is with Trump.
Yeah.
So immediately...
I think Trump is the new Howard Stern.
No, I'm just saying immediately everything they got to say about the man is under suspicion. You're suspect from the get-go.
Well, yeah, it's like when Trump and Bill Maher go at each other, right? I take stock in nothing either of those guys say about each other because you both know they got it in for each other.
That is celebrities who would have no place in a society without celebrity worship in a dick-waving contest. That shit goes back to the 90s. That goes back before Trump ever threw his hat in the political ring.
No, that's what I'm saying. I know they have personal beef. When they go back and forth, I don't like, whatever, you guys don't like each other.
Yeah.
This is well known.
Yeah, it's like Hatfield and McCoy's type shit.
Yeah.
But no, that's why I said, like, I don't trust the media, but I do trust them to be themselves, and I trust their greed. And their greed, their greed, excuse me. Well, yeah, their greed has a historic precedent of they will milk this and drag this out and turn everything into something to feed to us, to keep us constantly fucking annoyed and at each other's throats. And honestly, we're primed for it. Our society these days kind of primes us for these fucking like quick dopamine hits, you know, like, oh, here's a little bit of new information about it. You know, we'll release this, you know, or here's this. Because we went through that shit with the whole fucking Russiagate and the Steele dossier. Every week, there would be literally maybe 30 seconds of new information somehow. An hour and a half would be done on it. And it wasn't an hour and a half like we do an hour and a half now on something.
You mean like right now?
No, because we wouldn't go off topic this much with the old host or co-host. He put his dad pants on. We'd be like, fuck off.
It's true. I do have 5 things listed. We've technically talked about one subject.
But, yeah, that's just... to me, if you're new to this shit, you're new to paying attention to the media and looking at it through the lens of scrutinizing them, putting them under the lens that they usually put everybody else, something to pay attention for. And believe me, this is going to be a story. It's going to be the gift that keeps on giving to the media.
What are they going to do when he dies?
They're going to go after his family. They've already started that. And his family, and I mean, whether or not I like his family, they put themselves in the crossfire by making themselves public figures. The one thing I'll give the media, at least most media of the mainstream media at least, about Trump that they didn't do and they backed off was with Barron. But then again, Barron Trump's, he's never, except for like the campaign trail when he was initially like the election night, has he ever been fucking like shoved on the campaign, like shoved into the media's like to the forefront of the media like the Clintons did with Chelsea?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
probably
think so.
not.
Like, I hear less about him than I've heard about any president who has.
Well, you got to think too. That's Melania's kid, right? She could be laying the law down. Like, you can do this to all your other kids, but this one's mine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But the point is that the media didn't, like, as much as they hated him, they still fucking like pretty much gave him a fucking like.
Well, you got to remember
a pass
because he's a child.
They didn't give Chelsea a pass.
Well, that was before the child worship started.
And they didn't give the Bush twins a pass, and they didn't give the fucking Obama girls a pass.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've heard more about Obama's daughters than I have about Barron Trump, which I would not have thought ever was going to happen when Trump was elected.
That's right. Didn't one of them go to Michigan or went to Michigan?
I think so. I think one of them went into law. I think Michigan Law School or something like that. That's ringing a bell for some reason. But anyways, so if you're paying attention to this and you're just like, oh wow, this is complete bullshit. This is all fucking horse shit. This is all just processed fucking approved narrative being shoved down my throat. Just another way to pay attention to it. They will milk the fuck out of anything they can with Trump and any story. Especially the worst thing can happen for the media is the Democrats win 2022 and 2024. Oh, because they're not going to scrutinize the Democrats. They're not, because
they're great winners.
No, they're victims when they lose and they're victims when they win. They're victims they're just victims. And I mean, I'm not saying they're victims. They say they're victims. So I mean, it's the only party I know that can win a fucking election and still be like a presidential election,
and still be mad
and be victims. Yeah. But anyways, moving on.
Those 87,000 IRS agents are coming after the middle class. Blue wave will stop.
Well, I've said this, and so have people with a lot more higher profile than any of us will ever have. If you go to the IRS website, there's a button you can hit, and you can donate. You don't have to wait for them to come to you and be like, hey, we want some more money. You can just give it to them. They'll take it. So all these people who want to fucking pay their fair share, I'm interested. Are they paying more than what the government says they have to? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt anyone in Hollywood's fucking cutting a fucking extra couple million for Uncle Sugar. Sending that check in. But they're going to...
Well, I'd argue, would anybody? No, but I think what you're getting at is a lot of people who are saying that people should be paying their fair share probably wouldn't divvy out the extra money if given the opportunity.
Trump, during the debates, when I think it was the town hall debate, they tried to call him out on his taxes, and he's like, "I'm a businessman. Part of being a businessman is to pay as little in taxes as possible. Anyone would fucking do what I did if you could do it. That's the absolute truth. Yeah. Every politician on that stage who fucking tutted or even reacted like they smelled something bad for half a millisecond needs to be lined up against the wall because they're full of shit."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my point. All these people, we're going to go after people, make sure they pay their fair share. Are you paying above your fair share?
Do you pay your fair share?
Yeah. Do you take any deductions? Because that's not your fair share then. You're using a loophole.
Yeah.
If you want to pay your fair share, just cut the government a check for, what is it? What's the max tax rate? Was it 43?
Something ridiculous.
Like on income, something like that?
Something absurd.
I know it's almost but like just cut them a check for like 40% of what you fucking make. Send it in.
Hey, stop taking deductions for your kids. Pay your fucking kids fair share.
But no, they're gonna come after your mom because she's got a fucking Etsy account. Because that cunt is destroying this country with her fucking $3 fucking crocheted bullshit she sells online. Just remember that. It's what? 37. Okay. All right. So I was in the neighborhood. So yeah. Anyways, enough about that.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
So what other subjects do we have?
I just wonder what the tax rates through investments are going to be through all this, if they're going to go up.
I don't know. I don't have enough money to worry about any of that. I don't care. No, I do. That's the attitude I get from everybody. All my problems, it doesn't affect me. I don't care. Oh, okay. Your problems don't affect me. I don't care.
No, I'm just saying because of these people who say they should be paying their fair share. I'm sure they have investments, right? And I'm sure they get income from that, right? So do they have to pay more if they get income from that?
Listen, the deep, dark secret is that we went through the tech boom, bubble, whatever you want to call it, in the 90s. And Clinton's tax rates going into the 2000 election, when MTV was doing their vote or die thing for the 2000 election, they started interviewing all these musicians and shit. And this was pre-Trump. So motherfuckers were talking the truth. And almost every musician was like, I don't know, but we got to do something to get these Democrats out because these taxes is killing me. From rappers to metalheads and everything in between. Pretty much across the board. And I'm just like, oh. So all that fucking bullshit, all that fucking, support this person. But ultimately, when it starts fucking with your bank account, you're going to vote your own fucking best interest. Yeah. But I'm supposed to not vote mine because it's going to help you. Fuck you. I'm not doing that.
Well, that's... Back to dirty little secrets. That's when people get in a voting booth. That's what goes on. They vote in their own best interest. I was reading a thing today. It's kind of tangentially related. It was on Axios. It was just a survey, and I didn't put it to the group because it's only like 3,000 people. But the whole point of the survey is the things that people will say privately versus publicly, like the percentage. Like it was on things like abortion, or if race is involved too much in public schools, or stuff like that. People who what they'll admit private, the percentage of people the percentages of what they'll admit it privately versus what they'll say publicly. So it was something like it. Let me try to find the article so kind of explain.
Well, no, I get it because but we've gotten to the point where we've started shaming people before and after they go into the voting booth. I mean, technically, I've never been in a voting booth, but you know what I'm saying. It's a metaphor. Deal with it.
Or just even with the last couple elections, right? What did they talk about? You couldn't get a beat on the Trump supporters because they tell pollsters one thing, and then get in a voting booth and no, I'm voting for Trump. Or people who voted for Trump and then just wouldn't tell their friends.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing really new going on in politics as far as how divisive the inherent nature of politics is, especially in this country with the two-party system and the way we fucking have set everything up in our political theater to play off each other. Like, there's nothing really going on as new. It's just there's this attitude of, if you don't vote or think exactly like I do, coming from the quote-unquote progressives and quote-unquote liberals, that, we went through this. Everybody I disagree with is a fascist and a Nazi. That's what they say. And that's what people start doing. And you know what? People did exactly what people are going to do. Really? Okay. Then I'm going to stop talking about how I feel in public. I'm just going to go vote how I fucking want and go fuck yourself.
Dude, my policy next election is no incumbents. I'm taking a page out of your book.
Vote them all out. I mean, fuck it. Maybe on the local level you get something done. There's a lot that needs to be done on the local level around here, I'm going to say.
There is a new leader in the clubhouse for governor I want to fuck. Have you seen Tudor Dixon?
Yeah, a little bit. I've seen her, yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
If I'm in a bar and it's between her and Gretchen, I'm trying to buy Tudor Dixon a drink.
I don't want either of them. I'm like, the guy that I wanted, the former fucking police chief.
Oh, James Craig?
Yeah,
fucked up his paperwork. Yeah, trust me, I might have been right there with you. Like, yeah, man. Can I vote for him twice? Can I put an exclamation point next to my vote?
So, Jess, just for people outside, for you and people outside of the state, here in Michigan, our police chief during the Summer of Love 2.0,
Detroit's police chief.
Basically, well, before the Summer of Love, back in like 2016, 2017, when it came out that the average response time for a homicide call in Detroit was upwards of 45 minutes. They interviewed him and they said, well, what do you think about that? And he's like, I think if you live in Detroit, you probably need to go buy yourself a firearm and protect yourself. And they're like, well, wait a minute, you're the police chief. And he's like, and we have way more crime, not enough police, and we're not going to get there to stop it. But you can stop it. You don't have to be a victim. And I was like, the dirty little secret of the hood is that's how most people feel. Mm-hmm. But they can't say that because that party with the D by their name is the one who sucks up and panders to them. But deep down, they know. They just want you to be a kept fucking man or a kept woman, whatever. This motherfucker's like, well,
Calvary ain't coming,
truth.
Man.
There ain't nothing coming over that hill but more of, okay, I just heard, I'm hearing myself echo in my headset. So somebody did something on some end. What did you do on your end, Jess?
It went away.
Yeah, okay.
It went away.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It didn't. Yeah, it's like a talkback box on a fucking CB. I forgot where I was going with that. Anyways, whatever. Do we have more subjects, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah, the CDC came out and pretty much relaxed, all of the restrictions they had going on for unvaccinated people, but not so you'd really notice it. Because when did it come out? Like Friday? It came out so it would be buried in the weekend news cycle. I definitely know that. And yeah, if you're unvaccinated now, no more. If you've been exposed to COVID, you don't have to quarantine anymore. You just got to wear a mask for 10 days or something like that. Social distancing's done. Are vaccine mandates still a thing now with the CDC? Whoa, I need to sit down. Hold on. That just sounds like a class action lawsuit waiting to happen, especially since all the restrictions have been relaxed. But I'm gonna bring back a throwback phrase because I feel like it's from like 2 years ago. Remember Follow the Science? Aren't schools full of the lowest risk groups from K through 12? Aren't that literally the lowest risk groups, even if they get it? Like we've had 2 school years? Where's all the widespread outbreaks in the schools? Or I should say the schools that were in session. Well, most of them have gone back. Not all of them. Yeah. Well, today I'd grab some food on the way home, and the cashier's wearing a mask, and it's not an N95. And at this point, I wasn't drunk, so I'm not that confrontational, but I'm sitting there thinking like, we've been told that's useless. And still seeing people walking around with the surgical masks. And again, to me, you know what I think now? Like, okay, I get it. You're on the left.
I did hear, listening to NPR today, they were talking about, lifting COVID restrictions and blah, blah, blah. And I want to say, I know for sure twice, the host, I can't remember her name, stopped the conversation to make a point of saying, COVID hasn't gone anywhere. We haven't beaten it. It's still just as deadly as it was on day one. And I'm just like,
that is incorrect.
I'm like, what? Like, I just don't get this. And in the area we're in, I see people driving around in a car by themselves with their windows rolled up with a mask on.
Who are you protecting yourself from? You?
Are you afraid you're going to exhale COVID and inhale it and catch it to the second power? I don't understand.
That's not how viruses work.
But yeah.
If you are by yourself, the fuck are you doing?
Well, let me ask you guys a question, okay? Do either of you have anybody who is very flipped out by COVID and stayed that way for a long period of time, longer than either of you might have fucking thought, like, maybe you should like ease up a little bit, that are now, they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm over this shit. Fuck off with this bullshit. Either of you got anyone like that in your life?
My ex-wife, for the first couple months, was fucking, I mean, dude, she had generalized panic and anxiety, but oh yeah, like fucking, I think I have a fever, or just she'd swallow or fucking spit wrong and cough. Like, oh, it was just, wouldn't leave the house. Like, but after a while, it was like, yeah, now it's back to normal, all that shit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I have a friend. They don't live in the state anymore, but the state they're in. It isn't a very big state on masking and all that shit, and never were through all this. But one of the things they said is that they're like, I took the 2 shots, I've worn the mask every time they told me to. I've done the social distancing. I had no life outside of work for 2 years, and then like for almost a year of that, didn't even fucking leave the house pretty much because she had to work from home. And she's like, I'm over this shit. I had COVID. It didn't even come close to killing me. I'm not putting on any more masks. I'm done with this shit. Like, it's amazing because this is a person who 6 months ago I'd have never thought I'd have heard those words come out of this person's mouth. You know what I'm saying? And it's like to see someone who is that deep entrenched in the. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And I don't mean this as a pejorative way. I mean it in the dictionary definition way of the word propaganda. I mean, it was propaganda. And to see someone reverse themselves, and it just, I don't know, it's kind of fascinating to me because it should be a kind of like, a mask off or, take the glasses off moment. But I got a real bad feeling people are going to be really good at burying their heads up their ass or in the sand and just going, oh, no, it didn't matter. So what, they lied to us. So what, they made us do all this shit. So what, they took 2.5 years of our lives. And there's still motherfuckers out there trying to keep the shit going. Like, oh, no, it's not over with. We still have to. Fuck you. You've sold enough masks. Go fuck yourself.
And did you see today, too, the CDC came out and said, yeah, we really didn't handle this the best that we thought we could. We're going to.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Really?
We're gonna kind of look over our response to this and try to maybe do better next time.
Well, that's what I kept trying to explain to people. When COVID started, okay, let's go forward in the conversation with the assumption that it was pure fuckery, not maliciousness, that inflicted this upon the world. Okay? So there's really no smoking gun. You know what I'm saying? We can't go back and point any fingers.
No smoking pangolin?
Yeah, nothing like that. But, I mean, if they'd have come out and just said, look, we don't really know what we're dealing with. We don't exactly know how this is going to affect people. But this is like any other thing that is a virus that is, part of the COVID family of viruses or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I'm not a virologist. So I don't know the terminology. But if they had just come out and said that, they'd have bought so much good faith by just being honest. But the government is just as dumb as it's made up of us, and we're dumb. And in our society, we've decided the biggest sin, besides not being a progressive, that you can be or that you commit is to say, I don't know. You're not allowed not to know anything. Give a bullshit answer. Make some shit up.
Or at least say we don't know, but we're going to find out.
See, but that, you know what I'm saying? Because if they'd have come out and said, we don't know. I mean, do you remember when they first started talking about it? I mean, I think this was like one of the very first shows when we went to daily shows during COVID, where they like released a statement and were like, people are going to die. There's no way to stop that. It's going to happen. But people die every year from the flu. People die every year from whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, people forgot that. And they thought, oh, the government says I'll be fine if I get this jab. I'll be 100% protected. You're never 100% protected from fucking anything. You're never 100% safe from anything. Life is not safe. And I'm not talking human life. Life in general is not safe. Go sit in nature and watch how nature deals with life.
Go talk to a dinosaur. Oh, wait, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, there's been so much bad fucking faith to where now, I mean, I'm Gen X. We didn't trust anybody to begin with. We come out to pussy being told that we were fucked. So that's our outlook on most shit. We already have strong distrust of any authority figures. But I think millennials, I honestly thought, like, well, that's it. They won't be able to pull this shit on this generation again. Kind of starting to wonder if maybe they could. You know what I'm saying? Like, people's memories are short. The amount of good faith that was squandered in all this, if they'd have just come out and just been like, we don't know, we're doing what we think is this and this and this. No, they come out and they say, this is how it is. And then they contradict themselves 2 days. Remember the whole thing? Masks aren't going to do you any good. And the average person, you don't need a mask. We need to save it for emergency personnel because we have a shortage on PPE.
And 1 month later, everybody wear a mask. Yeah.
Yep. The exact mask they told you a month ago did nothing. The exact same people, the exact same mask, and everybody act like they forgot it.
And showing us how to make a mask in case we couldn't find one.
I mean, that is madness. It is madness to think that quickly, out of fear of getting a virus that had, less than a 1% chance of killing the average person, that people were just willing to just be like, oh, you lied to us? That's okay. We understand. It was probably for our own good. Fuck that. Fuck that. I'm tired of this shit. No, it's not for our own fucking good. You want to be for our own good? Knowing the fucking truth what we're dealing with. But I know that's too much to ask.
I think at the peak, at least in the United States, when I sit there and watch the death counter, we were like maybe kissing 5% as far as fatality. I just remember thinking, so like, again, 100 people walk into a room, and all get COVID, 95 are living. It's pretty good fucking odds. What are we stopping society for?
If you took 100 people and based them on the 350, 20, whatever the fuck, million people, the demographic, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And made up those 100 people of, a one-to-one demographic of what we have make up in this country and put them in the room with the common seasonal cold, I wouldn't expect 5 of 100 of them to walk out. I would expect a couple to die and a couple probably to be hospitalized because everybody reacts different to everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we forgot this lesson the minute we heard the words COVID-19. I don't know.
Unknown. Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And the dirty comorbidity you're not allowed to talk about because it'll body shame people.
Being a fucking fat ass. Yeah, I'm fucking fat, and I can.
Hey, and you made it.
It's like the fucking N-word. I can say it. Y'all can't. That's my word.
Well, I used to be it. I got pictures.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh,
Jess, do you not think I know that? I'm fucking with you. Come on, I'm just being a smart ass. I don't give a...
And so you can say you used to be fat. You can't say you used to be black. Well, unless you're like OJ. OJ said it. Yeah.
That's a conversation for another day. Anyways, well, no, look, I had a conversation with a friend of mine and about, like, what do you hope to do with the podcast? Because you've been doing it for fucking almost a decade. If you were going to break big, most likely you'd have done it by now. And I was like, absolutely. I don't think anything's going to, like, I'm not going to retire off this podcast. I'm not buying a fucking house on Jefferson in Grosse Pointe fucking Shores or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because of this podcast. But what I do hope is that the listeners we have, my best hope would be that we're like the stories of the band that the first couple punk bands that played like CBGBs. Like, they played for 20 people, and that's it, but all 20 of those people went and started bands, and they're all fucking legendary. You know what I'm saying? Like, there always has to be something. Someone has to pick up and start trying to do something that no one else is doing to show everybody, yeah, you can do it, and you can do it on your terms. And I just hope that's what the fuck we do, because honestly, this shit ain't easy looking at all this shit every week and talking about it. It's kind of draining because it's just like, this is the same topics we talked about 8 years ago. Just different fucking names.
Right. Different wrapping paper.
Yes. Yes, we are literally dressing up the same bullshit over and over and over and over. And it's maddening. It's maddening. But if someone listens and they fucking go, oh, wait a minute, I've never really watched the news with a critical eye or picked apart an article and look and purposely looked for the bias or the bias in the article. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Then fuck it. I'm happy with what we got, and fuck it. I've said it a million times. I've had people message me. I've had people fucking friends of mine. Man, I wish I could do a podcast. Do you have a headset? I have one for my Xbox. Okay.
Do you have an internet connection?
Yeah, if you're playing online with a headset on an Xbox, you probably have an internet connection.
If you have an iPhone, you could make a voice memo and then download it.
I'm just saying, like, whatever I can't help you with, I can put you in touch with people who, or at least make a phone call or shoot a text and get you the information you need to do it on your own. Go do that. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, at this point, well, they don't ship you headphones anymore, but an iPhone used to come with everything you would just need to get this. You could. The way their voice memo app is, just hit record, do your thing, and then you could fucking just download it. The technology now is so easy. Like, you don't even have to go to Guitar Center and spend like $500 anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and what we're doing is nothing more than just sitting around talking about shit that most people, in my experience, talk about. They just don't talk about polite society because it gets people pissed off. Like, I mean, I don't know, Jess, maybe you heard this. Maybe it's You're from the South, so maybe you heard it because, you know, I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but the South kind of takes a little bit to kind of catch up to the North on some things. But, like, you know, we were the last generation, at least in the North, that were raised, don't talk politics and religion.
Yeah, it's not the bar.
Well, I mean, it was just
trying to get punched.
Well, you know, my family's full of a bunch of people who act like they never drank, even though they all fucking did at one point, for the most part. So, well, not all, but most of them drank a lot at some point. But yeah, I never heard that qualifier at the bar. I just heard, don't talk politics and religion, full stop. Well, that's kind of went out the fucking window.
Not you too, not you too, Rich, with the full stop.
Well, I mean, is this one of those fucking things that are going to annoy you?
Oh. I think it's just the last couple of years. I think it's been overused.
Well, to me, it's used. If I use it in the sense of like sending a telegram. In other words,
right.
There's nothing after. Don't wait for it. You're wasting your time. You know what I'm saying? But anywho,
New York is great. Stop sending more money in 2 weeks. Stop.
But. No, anybody listening to the show, I mean, if you fucking want to, like, do something. Fuck it. And believe me, putting the media, putting politicians under scrutiny, and just talking about the shit. It seems like it. What does it really accomplish? I don't know. What does fucking arguing with strangers on the internet accomplish? But y'all been doing it for the better part of a decade now.
Arguing with strangers on the internet stopped, Twitter would go out of business. That's its business model.
I mean, if we're talking about shit that pissing into the void, why are you getting married and procreating and doing anything? You're going to die in the end. How fucking nihilistic do you want to get about this shit? But I'm dead serious. Like, I think it's, people need to be more, when they look at the media and they look at how stories are covered. I don't even think the average American understands how stories are covered. When we talk about a Friday afternoon press release, we know exactly what we're saying without saying anything else. They're trying to bury the story, not bury it to where there's no eyes on it, period, but bury it to where Friday afternoon or early evening is historically the best time to release bad information for a company. Case in point, Major League Baseball, one of their biggest superstars, just tested positive for steroids and got an 80-game suspension. This is a guy who is like the face of of Major League Baseball, and they've been pushing him to be that for the last couple of years.
And nobody's fucking talking about it.
And they released that information on like 6:30 on the last Friday. And outside of the baseball world, absolutely no one's talking about it. There's no congressional hearings. The president hasn't brought it up like it was in the 2000s. None of that shit. And that's what people don't even understand what that means. If I say something's that's a third rail topic. If you follow political, conversations, debates and stuff, you know exactly what that means. Or if you're from New York, someplace that has a subway, you know exactly what that means. You don't touch that third rail. You touch a third rail, you'll fry to death. It'll kill you. Mm-hmm. So you don't touch. Things like that. Like the average person, I think, just doesn't understand that. And here's the thing. Our society has made it to where if you say the words, I don't know, what are you, fucking stupid? The fuck's your problem? We shame people for not teaching them what they should already fucking know. Like, we shit on fucking... How are you 21, 22, and you don't know how to do taxes? Motherfucker, when did they teach us how to do taxes in school? Do you think they're fucking... They didn't teach us shit, and they do even less now than they did when we went to school. Do you think they're teaching them anything?
No.
There you go. There you go.
My recent high school... I don't know if I told you guys this, but I think I did. My recent high school graduate nephew has no idea who Betsy Ross is. No idea.
Did we bring that up last week on the show, or was it pre-chat?
A few weeks ago. Right? Yeah. No idea who Betsy Ross is. Like, we were driving by a street. He said, oh, Betsy Ross. And I just said something about, I just brought up the flag. It's like, what? I'm like, you don't know who Betsy Ross is? Like, what? The woman who made the first flag? He's like, no, doesn't ring a bell. I'm like, and you had an American history class? He's like, yeah. I'm like, and you just graduated high school? He's like, yeah. I'm like, but that's it. I wanted to initially go, good job, public school system, but he did like half private and half public. Like, he was in both systems. Like, what?
Dude, what do you want me to say? I know teachers. I know.
Is
this
she a
shit.
tall tale now, or like, did that not happen, or are we being taught it didn't happen? Like,
this is what I'm saying. When Jess, before you joined us on this show, I was. It was like the last winter, I believe. There was a big stink up here because they were trying to stir up drama for the upcoming election. So that, they were trying to, like, our kids are graduating high school and they don't know who Martin Luther King is. And I'm like, how? Okay, whoa, time to fuck out. What fucking high school student who graduated in this country doesn't know who Martin Luther King is across the board? And of course, someone called or messaged in with that paraphrase, not the way I put it. And they were like, well, they know that he was assassinated and he was a civil rights leader. And that's all they know. And they're talking about how this is a failure of, like, the wider world and society. And I'm like, that sounds like a failure of the fucking school system and the politicians who set the curriculum. That's what that sounds like to me. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, once again, and this was someone who is intimately involved with the Detroit public school system that was on NPR talking about this. None of this is their fault. Their students don't learn, not their fault. Students graduate and they don't know shit, not the school's fault. Whose fault is it then?
Yeah. I mean, just like acquired quite an in-depth knowledge of training over the course of my 15 years with my one job. And the whole purpose of training, which we had stolen our method of training from how teachers teach, and I also lived with somebody who had a master's degree in training. Ready for this? The purpose is, I feel like, 8 years, I don't have a drum roll sound effect. The transfer of information. So if the information has not transferred, it is totally the fucking teacher's fault.
Yeah. I mean, and then let's not act like the teachers are given everything they need, though. I mean, we hear it. It's the time of year. We're going to hear it. We're probably going to hear it like tomorrow because we talked about it's like Beetlejuice spoken into existence. The teachers in the Detroit public school system, we got to fucking buy their own shit for their classroom so they have enough supplies. Well, they actually raised the write-off the teachers can use on their taxes for doing that. Used to be $250 a year. They raised it to $300.
Ooh!
So, and by the way, I've always said this, and the reason I'm going to say it is because I can extrapolate it to something else. You really want to see what people give a fuck about, not what they give just their, bullshit, nothing behind, just empty platitudes and, I really care about this subject. No. Where do they put the fucking money? It ain't in public schools.
Dude, the fact that
It
there's
ain't in public schools.
There is a lawyer around. Why? We got the lotto. Come on. We've been being told that lie for 40 years.
I also hear this all the time. We protect politicians and banks with guns, but we don't protect the school with a gun. So money and politicians are more important than the future, which are children.
My high school had a liaison officer. Not sure about yours.
No, actually in Florida I didn't. But Now it does.
It was,
Very shortly after I graduated, yes, they did have one.
there's definitely a cop packing in my high school.
But the line of logic, it's like, who do politicians give money to? Who do politicians give favor to? The people who they think are really important. Who do they give lip service to? The people who they need, the idiots, the useful morons, the majority of us. Yes, us. The royal us, okay, who vote for these morons. That's all. And then they're like, thanks for the vote, and I'll see you in 4 years or whenever my election, Congress. Too.
I mean, there's a lawyer around here. I don't know who he is, but I know like his pet charity, because he goes on TV and talks about it every year. But whatever, it's the fact that he has to do this to me is just insane. He raises money to give backpacks full of school supplies to public schools so that their classrooms and students can have what they're supposed to have for the school year. I'm still boggled by how the school systems, who have the most students and get the most money per student, have the shittiest educations.
Gee, probably. I mean, the one thing I know for sure it's not. I'm sure nobody's fucking along the bureaucratic chain of bullshit grabbing money with both hands. I'm positive that's never, ever happened in the history of ever when it comes to the Detroit public school system. So we can, corruption, take it off the table. That'd be racist to even bring up. Go burn a cross. The fuck's wrong with you?
Right.
I could smell you thinking about it.
I mean, as a city, it should be gut check time as well. This has been going on for at least a decade because I used to have to make fucking pizzas for it. Count day. Please come to school today because this is the day that our funding is based off of. Like they bring in lunch. They fucking like raffle off like PlayStations and shit. Like they bribe. Please come to school. They make it known to the student body and the parents. Please make sure your kids come to school this day because this is the day we count the heads to get our funding.
Yeah, have you heard that, Jess? You don't have that down there? Okay. Yeah, this is a very, very, very fucking like poorly kept secret. To the point where I wouldn't even say it's a secret, poorly or well kept at all here in Michigan. But yeah, Detroit Public Schools, absolutely. They bribe their students to show up so they can get a good head count so they can get funding for the next year. Yes.
Like, gut check time as a city, Detroit. Like, should we maybe be looking inward, perhaps? Like, you want to talk about the graduation rates probably directly, kind of correlate with the attendance rates.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
You know the biggest problem with cities like Detroit and a public school system like Detroit that I see is this fucking pathological need we have in America to make any group a monolithic group, to where once you've been assigned what group you're a part of, that you must think and act like everybody else in this group, and that's just not the truth. Because dude, there's a lot of people when I lived in Detroit who I would talk to who echoed the exact same things that you said. And I'm like, well, then how the fuck do you end up with the politicians and the school board and everything else that you guys end up with? And they're like, who the fuck else are you going to vote for? Who the fuck else are you going to vote for? There's no other party but the Democrats running, like, legitimately in Detroit. For people outside of Detroit that don't, there's no Republican. I mean, I'm sure they run one every fucking time there's an election. Can you think of one who was honestly ever a serious contender in your lifetime for mayor of Detroit, a Republican candidate?
None. Zero.
Exactly. And I remember slugfest between Democratic candidates, like Archer and Kwame and shit like that, back and forth and stuff. That's Democrat on Democrat violence.
Yeah.
But I mean, and here's the thing: the people outside the city of Detroit, and you can take this outside of Detroit and look at any major American city that's like self-segregated. where the city is, predominantly black and poor people, or, people of color and poor people, whatever the fuck. And then the suburbs are middle class, working class, et cetera, et cetera. Like everything a lot of the sentiments I hear echoed by people outside of these cities, the people who live in the cities echo the same sentiments. They just go, we just don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. And it's like,
Your kid goes to school every day? Start there?
for what though? I mean, honestly, if you're looking at that as a life, you can't even comprehend the other side. If you live on the east side of Detroit, you can't comprehend the west side of Detroit because you've never been there. You're fucking what? 2-3 miles city area that you live in? The fuck's a high school education? High school? The fuck's a middle school education going to do you? You could be a runner for a guy working at Ground Stash and make more money than a motherfucker working at GM or Ford. And you're not even fucking a teenager. You're 12. Now you going to talk about that good government bullshit to someone like that?
I'm talking about everyone gets this free education. Take it. What you do after 18's your business.
The problem is, and to me, the problem is that we don't put the emphasis on what you can get with that education, and the fact that you need to be pissed off that the education that they're offering you really isn't shit in the first place, to the point where selling crack is a better alternative.
Yeah.
But see, we rather point the finger and point blame and be like, no. And then meanwhile, we have politicians going, all these problems, we're here to solve them. Really? What have you done to solve them, Mr. and Mrs. Politician?
I said 100 times on the show, our education system is set up for 100 years ago. It's set up for when you finished, you go to the farm or you go to the factory. That's over.
That's what the bells are for. That is absolutely 100%. That is not conjecture. That is that is why we have bells between classes, and they ring like they do to get you used to being responsive to the bells on the factory floor. That is 100% why that is like that. And once again, people don't understand this. People don't understand the finer points of this stuff. And the thing is, I don't think it's because people are, there are dumb people. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of dumb people in this fucking world. I might have stuck my dick in a few of them. But I just think it's people don't know. And if you don't know something, that you're supposed to know it, or you should know it, and no one's going to tell you because everyone's walking around so worried about coming off as looking stupid or silly, or like they're not bootstrapping and pulling myself up to ask questions. If you're afraid to ask questions, how can you ever learn anything? And we obviously don't have very good teachers across the board. And I'm talking from public school, politicians. We have one political party basically telling us, the Democrats, that for decades now, families, it takes a village to raise, blah, blah, blah. It takes a village to raise the kid. Okay, then raise the fucking children, because I'm looking at 30 years of you doing it, and it ain't turning out that fucking great. So who the fuck is the village raising the children? The kids are not all right. They're pretty fucking far from all right.
You stop at the village and start with the parents?
Yeah. But
start in the house that the kids actually live in.
This is, I used to think, and sorry, Jess, this might be getting a little close to you because your upbringing. But I used to think that like homeschooling, I was like, dude, that is like one of the cruelest things you can do to your kid. And this is why I thought that.
Those are the weird kids.
Well, no, because I thought they had no fucking socialization.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that the one example that I had, like everything from an ant's to a bird's eye view of, that was a homeschool situation, they were damn near a religious cult. So of course they were like that. But then you once I started as an adult meeting people who had been homeschooled, they're like, no, man, we had fucking, sometimes it's, based around the church is where we'd meet, or a group or whatever, or homeschool parents would find each other online and get their kids together and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Well, then that was my main concern about homeschool is your kid might come out and can do long division in their fucking head without a calculator, but they're also fucking socially inept.
Right.
They think wiping their ass on the pole after taking a shit in the classroom is perfectly fine. And it's like, no. Like what yeah, right? What a wonderful loincloth your child from Lord of the Flies has there. What's his name?
This is my son, Piggy.
But no, so now I'm to the point where I'm like, if I was in Detroit and I had the means, and I think most people in Detroit would fucking feel this way, like families in Detroit would feel this way, they would rather homeschool. But how many families are in Detroit are intact, or even have fucking tact, as far as, both parents living in the house, how many fucking families in Detroit do you think have 2 adults in the house? Whether it be like grandma, mama and big mama, or, or as my friend said, called my mom by her first name and called my grandmother mom. And I'm like, yeah, and that's why you have no respect for women.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like that's even rare in certain, when we had my buddy who teaches at Cody on, and Cody, for people not from the Detroit area, is a rough motherfucking high school.
So my mom went.
Okay, that high school, yeah, but she went there before it was the Murder Mac, down the road. There's a McDonald's attached to a gas station that has its own Facebook page called the Murder Mac, because a motherfucker was shot and killed leaving, and they took a picture, and it was on the ground, and there was this bag of McDonald's. You can hear the smile in my voice, because it was just, it's Detroit, so the weak are eaten and killed. They don't give a fuck here. Or should I say, we don't give a fuck here. But someone took a picture, and the guy's McDonald's bag had fallen, and his McNuggets had fallen out the bag, and the sauces had fallen next to it. They were like,
somebody took them, didn't they?
They were like, damn, they didn't even give homie a chance to open up his sauce yet. And I'm just like,
didn't let him get one nugget.
I was like, they made a Facebook page about a gas station / McDonald's where people were killed at. Someone literally posted a picture of someone shot lying on the concrete. They're like, yo, homie didn't even get a chance to dip into that fucking 20-piece. That's fucked, son. And I'm just like, that's welcome to Detroit. If you ever fucking doubt how fucked up shit can get, think on that. That's all I'm saying.
Here's a query. What's more fucked up? That actually happening, or the dude taking the picture and posting it?
The whole thing's fucked up. It's all fucked up. It's from start to finish. There's so many levels of fuckery here, I can't even keep track of.
You just posted a crime scene and goofed on it.
I mean, have you been on Facebook? I mean, there was a motherfucker who went on a killing spree on Facebook Live a couple of years ago. Shit.
Really kind of limited my exposure since 2017.
No, fair enough. But no, honestly, I used to think, homeschool your kids going to be fucking all awkward, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm just like, the more I talk to people, adults who've been homeschooled, I'm like, yeah, you're the ones who actually, don't just... So, even though I've watched 5 people walk into that room and heard screaming and saw blood splatter out the door, you're saying if I walk in, I'm fine. Oh, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Citizen. Thank you, Mr. Politician. Oh, yeah, who could have saw that coming? No, the homeschool ones are like, I ain't walking in that fucking room. Fuck, cocksucker, you walk in that fucking room. That's all I want. And that's, I chalk that up to a lack of being taught critical thinking in our public schools. Mm-hmm. Whereas homeschool kids are taught that. Shit. Jess, you want to take this one? Have you heard the story of my cousin's final exam? Well, I mean, I wasn't even there. I know the principal cast of players, so I can imagine how this went. One of my uncles homeschooled his kids, and his son, he was like, okay, so, shit, I'm going to get this wrong. I can't remember if it was a bedroom set, mattress. Okay. But yeah, he's like, I want you to go in there, and this is the money, and I want you to come out, and you're only going to pay this or less, and you're going to come out with this. And people heard that, and they're like, that's stupid. And I'm like, that's not all he taught him. But you know what he taught him to do? He basically put him in there and goes, look, you're going to go in there and you're going to learn how to negotiate, and I'm not going to let you fail, because if you come out without the mattress, you fail. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's your teacher. You can't argue with the teacher. You fail. You have to do it. And I'm just like, is there anything like that in public school? There's no type of crucible, like you have to prove that you...
It's a little sink or swim. You could have given him a couple of pointers of how to perhaps come out with the mattress.
Believe me, we're related. He was given plenty of pointers
Gotcha.
years leading up to this situation.
Gotcha.
This was the culmination of a bunch of events.
Well, that reminds me, have you seen... I know it's on Netflix, but me and Mandy were watching these clips on YouTube years ago. There is in Japan, there is a tradition called the first errand, and they send like 3 and 4 year olds like to the store to go get milk and shit. And they're like, here you go, like it's time.
It was.
And there's
like my childhood with a note. Please tell my son Darrell Menthol Light 100s.
No, but like these kids could like barely talk and walk, and they're like, and there's like, you know, a lot of them cry and shit, and like, and their parents like, no, you gotta fucking go, and like and there's a show about it on Netflix, and it just films them, and it's like you're watching 3-year-olds like go to the signal and hit the fucking button, and like they figure it out, and they manage to not get run over and abducted.
And this is, you said Japan?
Yeah, just like Google first errand.
80 years ago in the Pacific, there were battles that were vicious. Motherfuckers were digging holes to sleep in and sleeping on corpses of Marines and Japanese soldiers. 80 years later, where are we at? Japan's sending 3-year-olds to go in and get their fucking, here, kid, you got to learn how to fucking do this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, he sent an 18-year-old in there to go buy a mattress on his own? Wow, that's pressure. That ain't fucking pressure.
Right? Yeah.
Pressure's being 16 on an island and having an 18-year-old Japanese guy coming screaming, wanting to kill you, and you got to kill him to survive.
Yeah.
That's pressure. But I just think it's funny. It's like, it's amazing how far we've fallen. Like, you know, like, yeah. Fight a world war. Literally fucking dig around and people who are dying just to dig in and get and take cover. And all this shit and the horrors of the fucking the Pacific Theater in World War II. And Japan's just going to Japan. Let's keep sending those 3-year-olds to the fucking stuff.
Fuck yeah. They've owned our ass since the 80s.
Dude, they've owned... This is right... Culture is the big difference.
We bombed them into owning our ass.
What did Andrew Dice say? Didn't we drop some bombs on them fuckers? What was in there? Sony radios? What the fuck?
Oh yeah, you've always, what's the old trope? Living well's the best revenge. Yeah, we blew the fuck out of them, but ever since we dropped those bombs, they've owned our ass.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a cultural thing in their culture. Like the long term fucking goals that they plan outwards for. Yeah. They're all about that in their culture. Us, we can't.
We want it now, dude. If the metaphor for the world is the Willy Wonka movie, the United States is Veruca Salt.
Well, I mean, like once again, I don't chalk this up to the United States. That's our narcissism and our self-centeredness, fucking getting the best of us. It's just Western culture.
Well, took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, or Western civilization.
Because even in Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, like where the European culture does have, you know, influence and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. It seems like this is more of like I guess the individualism thing is more American. Like the bootstrappy mentality is more American, but like I don't know, the we don't all work together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you go to Japan, and it's like, you're Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like here, you're this hyphen American.
Well, I feel
this hyphen American. You know.
Well, I feel in our lifetime we were all Americans. I feel in the '90s that shit started. You're the whatever dash American, the whatever dash American.
It's really when it took.
Like in the '80s, we were all Americans.
Well, they tried starting that shit after the '60s because I remember there was an interview. John Wayne gave, I think, Playboy in the 70s, right before he died, or around the time he died, somewhere around there.
Was this one they just tried to cancel him for a couple of years ago?
Yeah, where he's like, there's no such thing as a hyphen anything American. He goes, you're an American or you're not. I mean, he said a bunch of other shit, but I was just like, damn. I remember reading about that, and I was like 19. I'm like, even in the 70s we had to deal with this shit? Like, they're still trying to trot this shit? Motherfucker, we let BJ and the Bear go. Let this shit go, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we bring back cool things? Like Sound City. Let's bring back good recordings, you know? Like, if we're going to bring back shit from the 70s. But, so anything else? Yeah, this is kind of like...
Hey, sorry.
Yeah, this is like a subject that, like, I've kind of like passion subject of mine. This guy is he's got a screw loose, and we've covered him a lot in all his screw loosiness. So I'll give you the condensed version highlights here. Basically, actor comes up. He stars in a few independent movies. Perks of Being a Wallflower. We need to talk about Kevin. Plays a school shooter. Plays it to the point where people are like, he's an amazing actor. The more we get to know him, the more people are like, we don't think he was acting.
Right.
2014 lands the gig as the Flash in the DC movies. DC, Warner Brothers, who owns DC, decide to basically do their own version of what Disney did with Marvel and the Avengers Infinity Stone saga. And they were trying to do that, and they put his character, that Ezra Miller's character that he was hired to play, the Flash, he's kind of the linchpin that holds the whole thing together. Now, we talked last week, a couple weeks ago, that Zulaski, that's the new president of Warner Brothers and Discovery, because Discovery bought Warner Brothers out, put him in. He basically, they did a test screening of the Batgirl movie, took a look at it and said, he goes, I don't care if we dropped reportedly between $70 and $90 million into this film. We're shelving it, and if I have my way, we're going to fucking delete it from the catalog to where it's like it can never even be leaked. Well, Ezra Miller, during all of this going on, has been running around the country with various people. I don't know if they identify as non-binary or not. But the last time they were identified by the police, they were 12-year-old girls, a couple of them, and he was like...
Does it sex regardless, aren't they minors?
Yeah, and he was accused of having a very close, inappropriate relationship. Like, why does a 25-year-old want to hang out with a 12-year-old type thing? And, I mean,
That's Michael Jackson.
But... through all this, Warner Brothers has pretty much kept mum. They didn't really say what they were going to do. The Batgirl, the new president came in. He canceled Batgirl. Basically took a look at this Flash movie that they've put $200 million into so far. And that's, by the way, that's just to film it. For people who don't understand, this is how Hollywood movies work. If Hollywood makes a movie for $150 million, Hollywood's going to have to spend $300 million to put that movie out on opening weekend. Meaning the $150 it took to make it, and $150 million towards advertising, getting it in as many theaters as possible, et cetera, raising awareness for it. That movie has to recoup that, plus a third of that, according to at least this is according to the Hollywood fucking bookkeepers I've heard over the years, to make a profit and turn a profit and put money in the shareholders' pockets for the company. So a $200 million movie, that'd be what? 400, so it'd have to make $8. So it'd have to make $1 billion, basically, to put money in the shareholders' pocket. Obviously, Warner Brothers isn't thinking that this movie can do this now, especially with all the bullshit attached to Ezra Miller, because on top of assaulting women in bars, running around with underage kids, running a hippie community, grows weed on and has weapons on, which, by the way, that's a federal offense. And he has underage children running around to the point where in his compound, where an underage, like I think the age I've heard reported is between 3 and 5. So there you go. But basically a 3 to 5-year-old was running around with ammo from a magazine for a firearm.
Badass little kid.
Well, it's like, yeah, who the fuck, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, why is that happening?
He should get together with that 6-year-old who's drinking beer at the gas station.
Dude, you're a fucking movie. You are an actor. You pretend to be other people for a living. Why do you have a compound where you're grow all the weeds you want? It's illegal where he lives. But what do you need? What do you need an arsenal for? Aren't you hippie love? Peace, love, man. Everybody love everybody. Love is love. All this bullshit.
Maybe he's teaching these young boys to shoot.
Well, they're girls, but yeah.
Or these young children to shoot.
These young they thems to shoot. Well, because that's the other thing.
I want to teach underage children how to shoot guns.
They most of them have changed their pronouns to they them, etc., this and that. I mean, just nonsense. It is an absolute clusterfuck of nonsense. And it all culminated in apparently Ezra Miller, even though he's like made upwards of like $100 million in his lifetime, couldn't afford to buy booze, so assaulted somebody trying to take their booze from them to the point where the cops were called. And I'm just like, dude, just buy it. You're Ezra Miller, bro. You got a credit card. Motherfucker, he's got a platinum card, I guarantee it.
Like,
even
you got the money?
Yeah. Like, a case of beer? Really? I could fucking afford a case of beer, and I'm poor. You know what I'm saying? Like, he says from Miller. Put it on a credit card. Worry about it in 30 days when the bill comes, motherfucker. But, you know, he was doing that, and then apparently in the process, not only assaulted somebody, but broke in and committed a felony burglary, which he was finally picked up for. All the shit he's been wanted for questioning and people looking for and families putting notices out that, you know, their children have disappeared with this moron, and third-degree felony burglary, you know the word I'm trying to say, is what gets him. And I think that carries like a maximum of like a year sentence. By the way, any of us got picked up on
Look at him like OJ.
we'd be sitting in jail right now waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, absolutely. They had to put a boot to the door and at the last known addresses, definitely for one of us. But yeah, his ass. Oh no! Well, but we're gonna pick him up and then we're gonna charge him.
Well, because he's got the money to bond himself out, right?
And this and this and this and this bullshit. But here's the thing: ultimately, what the fuck is Warner Brothers going to do with this movie? Their star of this movie, the linchpin that holds this entire fucking framework of this fucking cinematic universe they're trying to build, is the Flash. He plays the Flash. So Warner Brothers basically came up, and this is all leaked. Mr. H Reviews and Overlord DVD on YouTube. Those are my sources. They said basically memos going back and forth in Warner Brothers. They have three choices. They can scrap the film completely, call it a loss, and start from scratch with new DC movies and superhero movies. They could do their best to digitally edit him out and reshoot and recast his role, or do their best to limit his role in the movie and then just recast him in the next movie. You know, basically do what they did, like Val Kilmer when he played Batman for like a one-off. You know, like he's just Flash for this movie, but the next movie will be, that'll be the real Flash. And then the third is just basically what they're going for, which is he does, as Chris pointed out, the apology tour and comes out and says sorry, and he has many deep and multifaceted, I think it was the language they used, mental issues that he's going to get treatment for, and he's dedicated to putting in the work. Which, by the way, once again,
sorry, don't change that you did crimes.
Here's a little peek behind the curtain for you. Did the work is the 2010s and 2020 version of suffering from exhaustion or dehydration, or something like, or no, 2010s it was going to rehab for exhaustion, dehydration. In the 2000s it was exhaustion, dehydration, and what was it in the 90s and 80s? It was like nervous breakdowns. Basically, this is somebody fucked up who's a celebrity, and they got to rehab their image, and they're saying they got to go through some shit. And in the parlance of today's time, it's he's going to therapy, and he's really dedicated to putting in the work. And I'm just like, what work are you going to put in where you're not a child molester?
Well, he's got his alphabet shield.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, it's kind of a bite the hand that feeds you, because he came out in the last year or so. I know definitely in the last 3. Like, basically during the waning days of the Me Too movement bullshit. And he threw his hat in the ring, which was funny because if I remember correctly, he was one of the ones who was telling men to shut up. This isn't their time to talk. Mm-hmm. But he had to tell his story eventually about how 2 Hollywood producers that he refused to name supposedly gave him drugs and alcohol as a teenager and wanted to split roast him. And he said he would never do that because they're disgusting Hollywood producers. And I'm like, so wait a minute.
Name names, man.
So and he claims he was underage. I'm like, so basically you Are you saying that you would have fucked them if they weren't Hollywood producers? You would have basically let two men commit stat rape on you? I mean, it doesn't matter to me that they're men or women, but is that really someone that we should be listening? Like, motherfucker, did you just really admit that, like, you're cool with statutory rape? And you wonder, and Warner Brothers is going, I wonder why we're having these problems with this guy we got to star as the Flash. Gee, I don't know. He's walking around Hollywood talking about how producers want to stat rape him. And you people think that that's a stable person? It's like dating a girl who your first date only talks about how much she hates all of her ex-boyfriends. Run! That bitch is trying to tell you something. Like, go, pack your shit, go. But yeah, it's just, it's nutty, and it's amazing to me because I can't, like, this isn't an Amber Heard situation. Amber Heard plays a small part in a movie that she does not have to carry. He is carrying not just the movie, but the DC franchise for Warner Brothers and Discovery. Mm-hmm. And it's just like,
yeah, he's like the franchise player he's supposed to be.
It blows my mind. It's just like, how do people who are so fiscally fucking, their whole job is to make a profit at no matter the fucking cost to anybody or anything, and they fuck up so bad that they're looking at something that could like they buried the Batgirl movie because they said it would do $3 billion worth of damage to our IP versus taking a $90 million hit and using it as a tax write-off. Now they're looking at another $200 million, possibly $300 million, because people were casting and greenlighting movies based not on quality of the movie, quality of the actor, but based on, oh, I like his political leanings, so we'll go ahead and make him you're the face of this franchise. We're going to put
there's a new boss,
back.
right? Aaron made a good point on the Weedsman. You can't come in right away and lay a stinker. If you got 2 movies in the can that look like they are not going to, they can't be the first things you put your name on.
Well, and this is real Hollywood nerd insider shit. Warner Brothers already has a bad track record of not really understanding which cut of a movie to release for their fans to get excited about. They took the Justice League movie away from Schneider, and Joss Whedon. They hired Joss Whedon. He came in and finished it, reshot most of it, recut the fucking thing, released it. It was such a fucking bomb that Warner Brothers scrapped their version of the Avengers, which was the Justice League movies, based on how poor that movie did. And then the fans come out and said, we want the Schneider version of this movie, and petitioned the studio for like years to where the studio released the 4-hour version of this movie on streaming services, and it did bigger numbers than the theatrical version that they released in the theater. How the fuck are you? Your job is to not get that wrong, and you got that really wrong. You know what I'm saying?
F minus.
Yeah. And your job is to hire people who are going to be stable. Like, remember when Iron Man first came out and everyone was like, ooh, Robert Downey Jr., he's kind of had a hard, like history with drugs and fucking around on movie sets and getting movies shut down because of his partying and his nonsense. He got hired and his Iron Man completely changed. I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to let's get an edgy guy to come in and take one of the B-level heroes in the DC universe, like the Flash, put him in there, and then that'll be our Tony Stark. That'll be our Robert Downey Jr. Problem is, Robert Downey Jr. lived through the 80s and sobered up. Ezra Miller's still partying like it's 1984. Okay. Yeah. He never got sober. All right. There's you can't have a redemption arc when you are nosediving straight to hell. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to hit the ground before you have redemption.
He's still in the descent.
Yes. But I just find that whole situation amazing, and it's just absolutely ridiculous that I just can't believe that we're sitting here in the age of streaming and theatrical releases and all this shit. I mean, video on demand, where they're charging $30 to rent a fucking movie for 24 hours. And you don't even own the movie after 20 hours or 24 hours. Why am I paying you $30 fuck that. That they can't get this right. And they're looking at $300 billion, or excuse me, $300 million in filmed movies and writing it off. Yeah, that's
that's a big L,
dude. I mean, like,
it's a big negative red L.
And here's the fucked up part: if you care about like having quality entertainment, ultimately that's what's going to suffer. Because now, every time shit like this happens in movie studios who are notoriously conservative and do not want to take chances for the most part, when they do take a chance and it backfires in their face and blows up like this, they will not take chances. We could be sitting through another 10 years of nothing but fucking superhero and Star Wars fucking films that nobody wants to fucking see except for like the people who own stock in Funko Pops. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up?
Oh, wow. You can't say this at the end of the show.
No, I love that she doesn't know what a Funko Pop is. I'm dead serious. Something for annoying people to collect. It's little stupid, big-headed plastic toys that just sit there. Like, they're not even, like, fully articulate or anything. And they make them out of... They're able to be produced very cheaply, and they can do custom lines very cheaply. So you get people, YouTube influencers, people like that will have one made up in their likeness, and they'll sell like 200 of them and shit like that. It's just look at it. It's.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I got a couple of buddies who are way into them.
Like they collect them?
Oh yeah.
It's the
So like at one point
2020's
it's not
version
not
of the Beanie Babies.
That sounds like, but it's a replica of somebody.
Doesn't matter.
It's like one step away from a voodoo doll.
It's limited shit.
And it don't look anything like them. They all look the same. That's like when people are like, hey, you can get a Cabbage Patch doll that's made and has your name. And I'm like, all they do is literally print the name on a blank fucking thing that's attached to every Cabbage Patch doll. And they go, male or female.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
you
I know.
Can't talk like
this was the 80s. This is before we had fucking hermaphrodites running the fucking country. So, yeah.
The doll will tell you what fucking gender it is, Rich, okay?
I know. You know how shocked I was when a fucking 6-month-old told me that the doctor who guessed their gender got it wrong? And then everyone on the bus clapped because a 6-month-old just told me that.
6-year-old.
No, that's not. You don't ever read stories about if your kid isn't 6 years old and pressing people on the bus at 6. That's a late bloomer. 6 months.
Oh, before you can even talk.
Yeah, there's a.
Well, I think we have an idea. Found a good idea for a doll, right? Like the crotch is like a surprise, right? And like it's a mystery, and just you press a button, and then this doll's a boy or this doll's a girl.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Or like, remember the battle damaged He-Man, where like you'd tap the chest and it would flip over and like his armor would have like a dent in it or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I had that. I had the Skeletor one too.
Yeah. Like do that with the crotch, so you can just like
you just roll the penis or roll it into a vag,
or nothing, I guess, because that's a they them,
right? Or both.
Ken doll. Turn into a Ken doll. Yep. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Yeah, I don't know. But no, I was
thinking more it's like a Cracker Jack box where surprise comes inside.
Funko Pops just...
Surprise, it's a dick!
Here's the deal. If you buy them and you collect them because you like them, even though I think it's silly, good for you, congratulations. If you're buying this as an investment, please stop. Like, do we really need to show you Beanie Babies and Pogs and Tamagotchi and every other fucking thing?
See, now I will say my friends who are into them because they like the shit. They don't actually, they're not like, I'm retiring off this. No, they're like, they made a Triple H Funko Pop, that kind of shit.
Yeah, like I said, I just think they're stupid, especially for how much they fucking want. I'm like, for a hunk of plastic that doesn't even really resemble the motherfucker?
Oh, there's like you can get like a Dave Grohl Funko Pop.
That looks like any Funko Pop with painted on long hair and a beard. Yeah, I know. And
at this point,
exactly the same.
The smart people, I bet you just send a picture of you. It would be a rich Funko Pop.
That's what there are. Like I know, I've seen YouTube creators that have Funko Pops made in their likeness, and I'm like,
look, it's me.
That is so fucking. I'm like, really, just like this. I'm surprised we haven't get this shows yet. We'd like to thank all half dozen of our listeners. This shows you how few listeners we have that we haven't gotten this. There's some brand of coffee out there that hits up podcasters and YouTubers and other various influencers.
Death Wish?
Is that it? Is that where they let you? Basically, they're like, just pick a name and we'll call it your brand.
Oh no.
Okay.
I've not heard that yet.
Yeah.
You get to pick what kind? You get to craft the coffee?
Yeah. Yeah, you get to craft the coffee, just like on a paint by numbers. You're fucking Michelangelo.
No,
okay?
do you get to tell them what kind of beans you want? Like, do you want a dark? Hey, I want Italian dark roast, motherfucker.
I don't know.
If you put my name, if I put my name on it, I want to be coffee I drink.
Well, that's what I'm saying. First of all, I don't drink coffee, and second of all, like if I was going to drink it, I'd be like, if they're like, yeah, we got 3 brews to choose from, we're going to send you some samples. Well, wait a minute, how many customers do you have? Oh, we have like 10,000 different customers and only 3 flavors? Uh-huh. Well, somebody's being sold the same shit, just repackaged. I mean, that's what's going on here.
It's tended to work for like Maxwell House for like 100 years.
Yeah, but
they got 2. They got regular and decaf.
Motherfucker, once again, I don't drink coffee, but I know if I was 80 and I walked into a place and I want a cup of Sanka, they're not going to be like, do you want Sanka Light, Sanka Plus, Sanka Plus Plus?
Well, I tell you, to get the fuck out of here, we don't serve Sanka.
So I said if I was 80,
yeah.
I correctly aged myself to where Sanka.
You lost, Grandpa?
Like Sanka, what is that like? Is that like Sri Lanka? Is that like a country? What's Sanka?
I actually knew a woman named Sanka. Was an immigrant. Shocker, I know.
When I lived in New York, one of the very first days I turned on the morning radio and heard Howard Stern in the state of New York. He was talking about what the hospital nearest to the studio at the time that he was broadcasting at, and the list of baby names. And it just so happened on this day that a Farfik Nugan Jones was born.
I didn't know the color of the babies.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
just by the last name.
I'm like, and he said it to Robin. And Robin's like, okay, just say your joke. And he's like, I don't even need to. I don't even need to. And I'm just like, yeah, we kind of know. Dude, it's like when I was, it's like one of the children's homes I was in. My roommate.
We're from Detroit. We're allowed to laugh.
One of my roommates' names was Anthony. Not Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
Aunt Fernie, right? And
was this before Anthony Hardaway?
93. So around the
same time. Yeah.
He was a little bit younger. Yeah. He was about 16, 17 at this point. Like the Anthony I knew. But without fail, there's white people. Like I'm a white person, but then there's like culturally white people. Oh. Like they might like raisins in their coleslaw culturally, like white people, like NASCAR white people. Oh, yeah. Like no NASCAR, like even white people.
Like the kind of white people Earl lives around.
Yeah, Earl. Just Earl. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I had a roommate one time, Anthony, and they're like, oh, you mean Anthony? And I'm like, no, I meant what the fuck I said. You know what I'm saying?
I think the first time I heard Anthony, I was like, what do you mean? Like Anthony, look, you trying to say like Earth? Like you fucking around? Like
the Earth?
Yeah.
No, you ERFF.
Yeah.
Spell Earth.
Is that how you say
Earth?
Yeah, it's like, is that how you say Is that how you say Anthony? Anthony? No. Anthony.
No, the bitch of it is so his full name, his legal name. I met his parents or his mom. I met his mom.
There's a full name coming.
Oh, no. Oh. That was his legal name was Anthony. Like that was his legal name. And of course, everybody shortened it up to Tony. And I'm like, okay, how are we getting Tony out of Aunt Fernie? Shouldn't it be like Tonefee or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Fernie?
Like Fernie? Fernie too? I don't know. Like, but Ant would have made sense. Actually.
No, Amph.
Amph, yeah. But yeah, I'm just like, what's the point of naming him Anthony if you're just going to call him Tony? That's like, if my name was Richard, I'd be like, my name is Richard. But I go by Dick. Well, then why even tell me your name is Richard? What the fuck does it matter? I'm going to call you something that has nothing to do with that name. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyways.
That'd be your name in Quebec. If you went to Montreal, you'd be Richard.
I was in Quebec, I'd be slapping the shit out of fucking Patrick Waugh, bastard.
Does he live there still? Did he retire there?
I think he was coach of the Canadians for a while. So yeah, he's in.
Can goalies coach? Oh, I feel like that was a shot.
Don't goalies tend to like go into coaching just like catchers go into managing because they're usually the most like their IQ in their sport is probably the highest on the ice.
I understand the catcher's kind of calling the game.
Catcher's the field general. Everything's being directed by a good catcher, and you'll never know it unless you know what to look for. But think about it: a catcher sits in front of the backstop, and he's surveying the entire field. What does a goalie do? Sits at the back and surveys the entire ice. When I played hockey, a good goalie will call out to his defenseman, "Hey, cover here, cover this, get this guy, blah 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 blah." You're constantly being. I mean.
Yeah, sure. I guess you get used to looking at offensive formations coming at you.
Yeah, you see like the diamond +1. Like you start to be able to spot them and shit. And in my experience, I mean, I wasn't a great hockey player, so I didn't talk a lot because I didn't have a lot to say because I couldn't add anything. But a good goalie will communicate and you'll know what to do. Like your skill will be what fails. A good goalie will not let you be in a bad position to fail, and that's kind of like a good catcher. You know, if you know you got a fucking dead pole hitter, you want to fucking everybody get over here, just this way. We know 98% of the time he's going this way. If it's the 2% of the time he goes this way, we'll deal with it. So yeah. But by the way, didn't mean to fall back into Sporgy for a second.
Right.
Jess, I am sorry. I feel like we've lost you on this podcast. I swear to God, we hear you.
Yeah, hey, that's good. That's good. Better than earlier.
That's true. Well, you couldn't hear us.
Well, no, you're right.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could always hear you, but yeah, no, we had a little hour plus technical difficulties that might have
studio gremlins.
Yeah. Long story short, my taking a little bit of the wins out of our sales and been like, it kind of feels anticlimactic after spending an hour trying to get this shit to work.
Right.
It's just like, what song you want? All right, click. Thanks for listening to and I'm like, wow, we really are starting just that. Okay, we're not going to warm up, nothing. All right, let's go. Here we are.
Hey, we had our list. We went through it. But hey, thanks for listening. Downloads are going up. And again, like, hey, podcast world, get your shit together with the stats. Because I log into one stats, like, apparently on Spotify, we're just as popular as the Weedsman. So hooray, Spotify listeners. Hi, how y'all doing? Thanks for listening. But wherever you're listening to us, you can follow us on social media at, I almost said the old Twitter information, at GenExhaustedPod. Like us on Facebook. And hit the PayPal or the Amazon banner at ChristopherMedia.net if you want to help the show out. And yeah, if you listen on Spotify, you listen on the iTunes. Well, it's not iTunes anymore. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, wherever if you can rate us, review us, please do. And also, there's a share button and everything now, no matter where you listen to. So if you can share the show, do it that way too. Please and thank you. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, later, guys.
See ya.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.